Hello everyone, welcome to Module 5, Advanced Retargeting Strategies. Some of the items we're going to be covering on today's module is going to be Advanced Retargeting Strategies. These retargeting strategies are audiences that we can create that would be custom from specific behavioral patterns that we notice on your site. And we're also going to be looking into creating a dynamic retargeting campaign so that way we can serve custom messaging to individuals so that way they are more inclined to convert again and again, giving you a much better return on ad spend. So these are some of our retargeting pixel events and retargeting audiences that we're really going to focus on. One is going to be the website visitors, people who spent top 25% of time on your site. This means people who have essentially spent more time than others. Essentially, they're in the top 25% bracket of the most amount of time spent. This could be people who have read a blog on your site and read the full blog, so they're a little bit more qualified, or somebody who's browsed between multiple product pages because they were looking at different products that they might have purchased, but they might not have yet converted. Or this could be a page view frequency 2 plus, which essentially means anybody who's viewed more than one page. So that could be somebody who hit your home page, went to a product page, and then made it to an add to cart page and then dropped off. That person's more qualified than the person who just loaded your home page and then X'd out entirely. Because if this person has visited multiple pages, they're more likely to be a higher quality individual because they've shown some level of interest. And then we have our video views audience, which can be for Reels, is my recommendation, or if you have video view ads, that's fine, so you can do video view retargeting for those ads. But in today's module, we're going to be covering how to do it for Reels. Reels are essentially Instagram Reels, content that's been posted organically, and essentially you would need at least 10,000 plus views for that audience to be worth it. And then we have our dynamic purchase retargeting audience. This audience by far is probably the highest return on ad spend audiences that we see is the dynamic purchase, because we're able to create a custom message to essentially give back and appreciate those who have been loyal customers and call that out in the actual ad copy. And that seems to resonate extremely well with individuals. It makes them feel really good, and it really draws them closer into your brand, which makes them want to purchase more. So let's go ahead and get into this. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your retargeting audience that you had created before. That's initially where we're going to start. It should look something like this, where your CBO is initially turned off on your retargeting. It's titled retargeting. You might have a few audiences that look like this: a page view 180 day. You might have add to cart 30 day, view content 60 day, and a purchase 180 day. Essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate one of our audiences, and we'll hit duplicate. And what we're going to do is we're just going to scroll down, because all of this information had been saved previously, and we're just going to hit Create New Custom Audience. And out of all of these options, we're going to select Website, and we're going to choose Visitors by Time Spent. And it automatically selects the 25% for us. And the retention time is going to be around 60 days for our testing sake, because that should give us enough data for it to be over 300 individuals in here, because if they've spent around the top 25% of people on the site, 60 days should be enough of them to really make the most sense there, and we should have a good chunk of data if we've been running ads for some time now, or if we just naturally have a good amount of traffic on our site. And good can be relative, so I would refer back to previous modules where we talked about how many website visitors make the most sense for page views for retargeting, and that should give you an indicator for whether or not it makes sense to start targeting these at more advanced audiences. And so the actual audience name we're going to type in here is just going to be Visitors by Time Spent 25%. And we'll just put in our date range so that way we know exactly how much time it is. And just to clarify, 60 days means over the last 60 days, all of the people in this audience that have spent the most amount of time in the top 25% bracket will be in there. And yes, it does update dynamically, meaning every single day we move forward, this audience will refresh. So let's go ahead and hit Create Audience. And now that we have this audience, we can go ahead and make sure to add it in the include. There it is. And then we can just remove that page view audience that we already have, and everything else should look the same. And we can go ahead and scroll down and confirm all this other information looks good to go. And it does, so we can go ahead and move on to this next audience and duplicate again. You should be getting the hang of this now, where it's pretty simple to go ahead and go through this process. The next audience we're doing is going to be another custom audience, and this audience is more on the advanced side. A lot of people have never really tested an audience like this, so I'm going to show you exactly what it is. You're going to select page view. 30 days is highly relevant. We've seen 60 days be highly relevant. 30 and 60 is usually the best match here, so you could actually start with the 30-day. In this case, you're going to do URL/parameter, and we're going to get pretty specific here, and we're going to go ahead and say value is greater than or equal to 2. And essentially what that means is people who visited your site in the last 30 days, anybody who's visited 2 or more pages will be put into this audience. Now, if you're sending people to a product page and they load it and drop off, they won't be in this audience. If you send people to your product page and they add to cart and they go to the checkout page, that's 2 or more pages. They will be in this audience, making them more qualified. If they visit your blog and then visit your product and then visit your cart and then visit the actual checkout, well, they're going to be in this audience. So anybody who's essentially viewed more than 2 pages in the last 30 days on your site will be in this audience. And this is really great because it's more qualified, because they're showing intent, they're actual users, they're not bots, and this filters our audience to a much more core, select group of individuals to actually target. And this is what we mean by getting into the data. You really want to focus on the data here. This isn't just about creating cool audiences. This is more or less about finding the right set of behavioral patterns that people are taking and using those in your retargeting audiences, so that way you can maximize the effectiveness of your Facebook ads. So let's go ahead and name this. It's page view frequency greater than 2. And we'll go ahead and do 30 days for this audience. And we'll hit great. And there we have it, our page view frequency 2 audience. And there it is. We can remove this other audience. And our template already named it for us, which is great. And now we can scroll down and that audience is finished. And now our retargeting is a little bit more robust. And we will be covering in future modules what types of ads to add in here, as well as what ways to optimize this. For now, we're going to leave it on the ad budget level, so that way we can get delivery and see which audience is performing best in terms of conversions. And then the final audience that we're going to create is going to be our video views. So we'll go ahead and duplicate this one more time, and we're going to scroll down again, create new, custom audience. And this time, instead of selecting website, we're going to choose video. And if you don't have any Instagram Reels, that's totally okay. They're not a requirement. But past iOS 14, and we could be on iOS 15, 16, 17, the privacy has changed. So we need to focus on audiences that are highly relevant, and one way to do so is having Instagram Reels as an organic strategy. And when you post Instagram Reel content to your page, if it's relevant to your product, if it gets a lot of views, those are custom audiences that you can have that other individuals can't. So if your video gets 100,000 views, 1 million views, you're able to target a custom audience that quite literally nobody else can do, because those are the views that you got on your Reels. And if they're relevant around what you do, then that is a very good audience to target. And we've seen incredible results when this is done right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and select at least 3 seconds of the video, or if your video is only 5 seconds or so, at least 25% of your video is fine to start with. And we'll go ahead and select our videos. And what we'll do is we'll switch to an Instagram business profile. And all you're going to do is look for your Reels that are relevant to what you're selling or what you're doing, and you're going to choose the ones that have at least a few thousand views on each, and your goal is just to find enough reels that are above 10,000, so that way you can have enough data to actually go after. So once you've selected enough reels, you can hit confirm, and you can do Instagram Reels watched 25% of your video, 365 day. And then we just hit create audience. Once this audience is created, that is our final audience that we'll create for our retargeting. And definitely feel free to test other Instagram Reel audiences, different time frames. It's all dependent on how many views you have. If you have Reels that are getting millions of views every week, like some of us, or maybe 100,000 plus like some of us, then you might want to choose a 30-day time period and select just a few Reels that are the most relevant. Now, if you're like the rest of us, which is probably only getting a few thousand views initially on Reels because you're starting up, or you might want to focus on selecting as many Reels that are relevant and then choosing a much longer time frame so you can ensure you have the most data possible. And so we'll finally publish this audience, and we'll move on to dynamic retargeting. And so we've already created our website visitors top 25%. We've created our page view frequency 2 audience and our video views for Reels content. Now we'll be creating our dynamic purchase. And so how this works is you'll be hitting create. You'll be choosing a new campaign because this is going to be a catalog. And you're going to hit continue. We'll turn on our campaign template, and this will be the retargeting catalog. And we'll go ahead and move on to the ad set level, turn on our template again. And what we're going to do is we're going to deselect the shops for now, and we're just going to optimize conversions for your website. We'll be going over Facebook shops later. We'll scroll down, we'll change our budget to $5 initially to start. We'll scroll down some more, and what we're going to do is we're going to select upsell products, and we're just going to select the products that have been purchased, or all of the products, and we're going to update this time frame to 180 days, so that way we have the most amount of data possible. And so essentially what we're doing is, if you have a product that could be purchased more than once, or if you have a product that people might purchase twice, or if you have a product that people might purchase for a friend, a family member, a cousin, a sister, a brother, a mother or father, or a student or colleague, or simply a friend from a friend, if they're willing to purchase again for any of these reasons or more, this is an audience that you would like to create, because it's highly qualified because they've already gone through the process with you before, so therefore they're comfortable. Second, you might have other products that you can sell them, which is great because if they've already purchased once, they're going to want to potentially buy other items as well from you if they found that what they received was quality. Now, this audience won't work if your product is not very good and people don't like it. This audience will not work if your product is a high ticket item and is a one-time purchase only, and it's something that people would never purchase again. And this audience will not work if you don't have any purchases. So with all things considered, we can now move forward. And once we've typed in 180 days and selected our full catalog, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to scroll down here, and we're then going to move on to our ad, and this is going to be the first time that we've actually covered a specific ad. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that this ad is set up very specific to what works in this space for the dynamic retargeting, and there's a very data-driven method here that does result in much better results than others. And so our primary text here is going to be, the primary text is going to be, we appreciate you for being our loyal customer. Come back for your next order. And so we essentially want to thank them for being a loyal individual who's bought and purchased from your brand before. And then we're simply stating, come back for your next order. Now, they're going to see this ad and they might not purchase right away, but they're going to feel warm in their heart because now you're essentially appreciating them and you're just sharing with them, hey, come back for your next order when you're ready. You could come back today. You could come back tomorrow. We're not really being aggressive or forceful here. We're essentially just giving them the opportunity to potentially comment and say how much they love the product. We're also giving them the opportunity to come back and make more purchase. We're also welcoming them to the fact that, hey, we're not very cold here. We are, very friendly and do want you to shop with us some more because we truly do care about you. And we're not giving away a specific percent off because there's no need to necessarily discount our product right now, because if they've already purchased from us before, they're probably going to purchase again if they really liked what we sold. So this allows us to sell our products at the fair value that we're charging. And so therefore, let's go ahead and add in the URL. The URL will go here. And then essentially for the headline, it'll be your product name. The description is simply going to be your price. And so now people can see the actual price. And another thing we could do that could be really creative is, one, testing instead of product price. We could test the description of the actual product. And then we could get really specific, turn off dynamic formats, and we could select edit creative, add catalog info. And in the catalog info, we could add price. We could even do strike through price. And we can do automatic colors so that way it adjusts with the actual product. And so we'll hit save. And now when we look at this, our price is being highlighted in these ads. And now what we can do is type in the see more URL, which is essentially going to be our website. And just to confirm on our product catalog, we're going to want to make sure that description is there. And so this is something now that our ad looks like. It's showing them the different products we have, so that way they can come back and make another purchase. Maybe they bought a pair and they want to buy a pair for their friends. There's a lot of cases that this can really work. And so we want to continue scrolling down. We're going to leave the shop now, select your domain, and we'll go ahead and build out our URL parameters for this ad. And this is probably the first time you've either come across URL parameters, or if you've already set up URL parameters before, this is going to be the best approach to do it. And the first step would be setting up your actual source dynamically, so that way it inputs the information that's as relevant as possible. Site source name means where they came from. If they purchase on Facebook, it's going to enter in FB on your UTM parameter. If they purchase from Instagram, we'll say IG. If they purchase from entrepreneur.com, it's going to put that domain URL in there. So that way you know exactly where individuals are purchasing from. And this is going to allow you to collect data over time, which means as your business gets bigger, you're going to have this data to look back on. And if you grow outside of Facebook ads and go to other platforms, you're going to know exactly what's most relevant. And you can get a lot of good audience data here to save you a lot of money in the long run because you can use these learnings. Big companies collect data so that way they can be as efficient as possible and make every dollar count. The medium is essentially going to be your ad set name, so we know exactly what audience they came from. And that's also why we split out audiences as well, so that way you truly know the original source somebody came from. Campaign name will be the actual campaign name. That one's pretty simple. Your campaign content is essentially going to be your ad name. And then we're going to go ahead and add a more advanced parameter here, and we're going to type in UTM underscore placement because we want to know if somebody came from Instagram stories. We want to know if they came from Reels. We want to know if they came from feed. Now you might be asking, why would we want to know those specific placements? Well, that allows us to create creative content around where we're getting the most results. Let's say we're getting a lot of purchases from Instagram placements. Well, let's create more creative that's vertical and where the text isn't necessarily so far down on the bottom of the vertical ads. So that way the Shop Now button is more visible, and that way we can get a lot more conversions, and we're using the data that is very effective and accurate here to improve our results and actually optimize our creative. That way we're not just making opinions, or we're not making, decisions of our own. We're allowing the data to really guide us here, so that way we can make the proper edits and informed decisions as an advertiser. And then we'll hit apply. And now we have our dynamic purchase retargeting ad completed. And so what we can do is we could even duplicate this and run another test just with the same ad, except slightly different, removing the actual frame here where we take away that price. And maybe, let's see, free shipping. No, we'll just do none, save, and we'll just scroll back down here and we'll put the price back in this section. And what we'll do is we'll change this from a carousel to a single image, leaving the same text. And then we'll just do description, and the actual link here, description. Headline will be the product name. And then we can go ahead and use this as an ad as well. We might even do a slash here where we add in the price, just to see how that looks. Perfect. And that looks good on these placements. Wonderful. Looks great. Wonderful. Perfect. Now we just scroll down, and all of these settings have been saved previously. And now we can just turn on our template where it says single image. And then those two ads are finished. So what we ended up covering today was the advanced retargeting strategies. We covered how to create those custom retargeting audiences to test. And we also went over dynamic retargeting creatives and ads that you can launch that are highly relevant with their messaging, appreciating those loyal customers, so that way you can get more sales and get more results. And in the next module, we'll be covering lookalikes, and I will see you then.